is Monica Gleberman, and you're listening to Silence on Set podcast. On today's podcast, we're talking to Kristian Flores, who plays Simon Elroy, in Paramount Plus's new hit show, School Spirits. The show follows Maddie, who's a teenager who's stuck in the afterlife, who's investing her own mysterious disappearance, and she goes on a crime-solving journey as she adjusts to school in the afterlife. But the closer she gets to the truth, the more secrets and lies she discovers. So to talk about the show and that crazy last episode, here's Kristian Flores. Okay, so let's get into the show because I'm so excited and I have so many questions. So first of all, who did it? Let's just get it out there. We can tell the people early, who did this, because I cannot figure it out. I will tell you this. I don't know if you could tease anything, but I kind of feel like you did it. I'm leaning on you now. Yes, and every episode I change, but like now I'm kind of thinking Simon did it. What could you say about it? I'm just gonna jump in right away with it.
I will say that in order to properly estimate who killed Maddie Nears, you kind of have to go outside. The show presents this circle, and it's within the circle, but you kind of got to go 3 or 4 guesses that you wouldn't think. So, for example, Peyton always believed that it was her dad, because there's not really a lot of information about her dad. I thought that Maddie killed herself. People, when they watched the show, thought it was Simon because no one believes that anyone could be that nice as he is. But let me just relieve you. This guy is unconditionally in love with Maddie. He'll never do anything. So keep guessing.
Okay, so I'm going to take that as I'm wrong again. So I'll have to flip to somebody else. So basically, for those that are watching, they're trying to figure it out because we're all like literally trying to figure it out. Maybe a rewatch of some of the past episodes and really look at some things that maybe we're being told and not being told to try to help lead us into some sort of direction, is what you're saying.
Yes, and it's there. It's there, but I
Okay.
would put subtitles on because when it is there, it's a quick 3 or 4 words, and you gotta go, "What?" Because you as an audience, you accept it and you go, "Huh, that's a funny line," but it's like, "Wait, what was that?" So you might have to watch it just a little. I'd go 0.5 speed, captions on, lights off.
See, I like this. Giving us a little like help, a little info to try to figure out who it is. So I like that. All right. So I wanted to know when you first read it, like the first episode, and you hear all of the stuff about you're going to be seeing spirits and people that are stuck in the school and all the things that, eventually Simon's going to learn. I have 2 questions for you. One, were you like, did I do it? Like as an actor? And then the second thing, were you worried about having to play scenes where you're talking to Maddie that's invisible, right? Like other people can't see her, but you're talking to her, but the actors are in the room, right? Like coming in and out. So is that like something that you were like concerned about in terms of like, how do I do this? How do I maneuver it? How do I make it look real?
Yes.
All of those things.
I guess I could answer that second question first, which was I was nervous. I mean, it really comes in 2 parts. The first one is embarrassment because you have to do all the scenes in front of background actors who see you making choices that don't make sense. There's nothing rational about what you're doing. It's like, why did he react that way? But it's like, I planted that seed of a reaction and Peyton's in the green room and I have to do the scene with no one. So it's like, you kind of have to just withstand the humiliation of people looking at you and go, oh my God. But it helps because Simon thinks he's sort of nuts anyway. Like he knows that he looks crazy with his earbuds in. So I think that at least for the audition and the chemistry read leading up to School Spirits, I would go across the street to where I live. I live in LA. I'm by Westwood, across the street from UCLA. To audition for the show, I would rehearse the scenes in real time on the locations at the cafeteria here. And like if the scene was at the bus stop, I'd go to the bus stop and just rehearse to the air and like the libraries and the halls. And I'm not a student there, but it just made it all the better. It felt really fresh. So I kind of just felt like to nail those scenes is to nail the location of it and to they kind of like that. But help me, what was the first question?
Yeah, so in terms of like prepping, because as an actor, you have so much going on, right? Like, you have to know your lines, you have to know where you're standing, and you're in like like you have a lot. So when there's scenes where you're talking to, I'll say like, I guess like the spirits, right? Or you're talking to Maddie, there are sometimes actors that walk in, like a teacher will walk in or like a friend, and it looks like you're talking to yourself. So you pull out your phone and, you guys come up with like, fun ways of kind of making it look like you're not completely crazy, but they really walk in. So is it hard to try to like ignore or make it look like you're talking to somebody that's there. Like, you know what I'm saying? And have to make it that she's not there, if that makes sense.
This is probably the most imaginative show that, for actors to work on, and I'll give the inside scoop to how it was filmed actually, which was if this was the camera that they shot, the creators really wanted to give it a unique look. You watch even the trailer in School Spirits and you go, "Okay, I've seen this kinda genre before, but the look is different." Like, it looks like comic book-like, a little it has a point of view, and so when we do scenes, they put, like, a stick and a little X right next to the lens, and they kinda made it a rule that there are no over-the-shoulder shots in School Spirits. So if you actually kinda go through the episodes, you'll see that it really just focuses either on a single medium, close-up, or a enormous wide, and so what the thing is when you're acting to an X and the lines to the X tape are, "I love you," and "I have no idea what I'll do without you," to a blue piece of tape. It's like you're running your imagination for like in Canada when you're shooting for like 2 months, and you kinda just imagine everything. So it was the technical aspects of just where your eye line was sorta helped, helped solve some of the issues with breaking distractions and having concentration and all that. So, yeah.
So instead of having, like Peyton in the room and you and like a teacher walk in, it was filmed more like you're talking like she's really not there because you're talking to a phone or a camera, that kind of sense. And
Mm,
then they would kind of, I guess, reshoot and do what Peyton's responses would be.
yes.
Kind of the
Mhm.
same. I feel like very creative, like you said, but also maybe a little easier in terms of acting because then you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to focus so much on if someone's coming in and how do I look and if it looks weird. Because when you're doing it, the person comes in and you are by yourself and you are
Yes.
talking. So, like, so maybe it gives you a little like reprieve of it, like of having to worry about it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I see the reality of someone who's on the phone and because I always watch scenes in movies where they're in a cafe and they're yelling at each other. I'm like, dude, would people really yell at each other when there's so many people looking? And so a part of me was starting to do a lot of his scenes on the earbuds really discreetly. So there's one scene where he first argues with Maddie for the first time in the show, which is in the cafeteria, and it's because she's so emotionally distant, she doesn't share her private life with her best friend. So I go, "You didn't tell me what happened with Anderson?" She goes, "No, I didn't." But I wanted to do the whole scene talking to Hash Browns. So she's in front of me, and because I didn't want any of the students to notice that I'm crazy, I talked to the Hash Browns, and I was doing the whole thing, and the director walked up to me and go, "Hey, up, she's there, right? Up." And I go, "Okay." So I just took that note, but I thought it would be so interesting to kind of just like do the scene to the table because it would just be like a interesting argument scene. Like, of course, Simon and Maddie argue talking to hash browns, but they kind of wanted, yeah, you could have fun with it, I guess.
Kind of like that idea too, like where you'd be like being down and like being like, no, yeah, uh-huh. Sure. And fighting. I kind of like that idea, but I do understand the aspect of the connection, right? Because this
Yeah.
show relies on your connection, the two of you,
Mhm.
relies specifically on Maddie and Simon and kind of, and what I found interesting too is because it relies on that connection. I loved the fact that when Simon sees her, he immediately is like, what's going on? This is not real kind of thing. But then very quickly changes and just embraces it. And I
Mhm.
kind of love that because I feel like a lot of shows that try to do some sort of spiritual aspect or something like that will go on and on and on for like episodes where they're like, I'm crazy, I don't see you, and it like drags it out. And in a way, I really enjoyed that he kind of accepted it, but I also thought that it said a lot about Simon and the fact that he really embraced like, I'm not I mean, he goes through moments in episode 8, the episode that just aired, he thinks he's, like, a little crazy, he's starting to doubt a little bit, but I think anybody would do that. But the fact that he was so willing to help, I mean, he's gone to her mother, I mean, he's looked for things, he's looked for clues. So, what was that like for you in terms of the traits of Simon? Because he's so lovable and he's so nice and he's so in love with her, but he just embraced this impossibility, right? This thing that we, like, assume is not possible because we can't see it, but you can.
I mean, it's so symbolic. It's one of these situations we see every day in our life where our mind is already willing to get rid of all of the rational stuff and just accept things. Sometimes that could be unhealthy, like being in love with a person, but they have so many negative traits that you just accept the love and you go, "I don't care what's wrong with you. I love you." And he's looking at her ghost and he goes, "This probably isn't real, but I accept you." And this kind of like shooting star out of him that goes in the direction of Maddie. Thank God that it's pure, because that same shooting star could be pretty dangerous and even toxic. But I love that he embraces her so quickly as well, especially that scene he's just coming from, his breakdown. The traits about Simon is that I really wish and I hope people can believe that souls like him exist, because we watch fiction, we watch TV and movies, and we say, "Oh, but life isn't Hollywood." Like, "Oh, what a great character," but people wouldn't really do that. They don't care that much. I think we can. I think we do, and that's what I'm so scared of, like Simon getting hurt or anything, because I really want people to know that you can go as far as hell for a person. That true selflessness exists, and that trait is something we're a little resistant to now. I think we're kind of suspicious of people. Like, why do you love me that much? Do you want to get in my pants? Or why do you love me that much? Do you want something from me? But no, I admire you, and I'll do things for you because I love you. And yeah, so I love that, and I think that can exist in real life. That we don't all have to be, self love, self love. It could also be self love, but sacrificial love exists.
Yeah, and I agree with that too, because like while the whole group is kind of spread out, it took them some time. But while the whole group is now kind of trying to solve the murder, and it's almost like a Scooby gang, right? And everyone's running around and they're all in little groups and everyone's kind of trying to figure out what's happening. The one difference between the groups and between Simon, to me, is that because the groups that are kind of split up, that are trying to figure out, and I'm talking like, like Wally and Xavier, like everyone's in a different kind of area, right? Some are looking at newspapers to try to get like the history and figure out what's going on with the spirits. Others that are alive in the walking world, I guess, or real, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it. They are, split up in little groups. They're staking out houses. They're trying to figure out what happened. The one difference is that Simon is totally relying on Maddie in terms of moving forward, but in full acceptance. And it's just something that just makes him special. And exactly what you said, I relate to him so much because I every time I watch it, I just go, I hope I would do that. Like if someone I
Yeah,
saw,
yeah.
I hope I would be him. Like if I saw somebody and they told me that, yes, I'm gonna be scared right up front and be like, oh my gosh, am I crazy? Did something happen? But when you keep seeing that person and you're like, but I really bonded with this person, I really knew this person, I think this person's here. And then to just unequivocally be like, what can I do? What do I need to do to get you help? And so I don't know, to me, he's like such a hopeful, loving character, which is why I got nervous because in the last episode, when he starts doubting himself, I went, oh no, please don't be the killer. Cause like, and then I started getting nervous about it. And I agree with you. It's very rare. It's like hard to explain because it's like very rare and you don't see it on TV a lot. And there is so much of guards up in the world today. There's a
Yeah.
lot of guards up in terms of even television shows, right? And there'll be characters where someone loves someone and they still go, well, I don't know, I'm not ready or this and that. But with Simon, it was just full out, what can I do for you? And I will look as crazy as I need to look. I will go wherever I need to go. And I will even go to your mom who's like grieving because you think she might have something to do with it. I will even do that. Like I will do whatever I need to do to help you. And I do think that we need more of that. I think we need more of that on TV because there are human beings that do that. And that's kind of a thing not really represented. But in
Mhm.
general, I think it's something to aspire to. So when I watch your character, I always go, oh, I hope I do that. Like that if something like that ever happened.
Thank you for saying that. And that's the great thing about the writers of the show is that they are able to create a series that has so many twists and turns. With Simon, there is no twist and turn. He's a straight rod of love, and that's why I never thought he was the killer really, because I thought that the show would it would be destroyed in my eyes if all his effort was just for a plot twist, because the brother and sister, Megan and Nate, they love each other. So I kind of base Simon and Maddie's love almost on that sibling kind sort of trust. But yeah, I feel like at any time the audience sort of screams at the screen, and like in the last episode where he rides his bike away and Maddie tells him, you're not crazy. We are screaming on the phone saying like, you're not insane. Go back, go back, go back. And that thought that we send out, you're not crazy. You're not insane. I feel like that kind of just, this is very, very dramatic, but it like saves humanity because we want people to trust their intuition and their instincts, the little voice in them. It's really easy to go the other way of doubt and be like, oh, forget it. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. And I think that the show does a good job at getting the audience to scream, because what do we scream in horror movies? Don't go upstairs, right? Don't go upstairs. Don't go upstairs. But the kind of things that you're screaming in this show are more emotional, like you're not crazy or please look for her. There was actually a line they cut from the pilot that made me want to be a part of the show, but then they cut it. Maddie gets to say it, and I think, there was a scene where Nicole goes into the boiler room in the pilot and starts looking at the blood and goes, "I can't handle the blood," and she leaves, and Maddie's ghost is watching from the corner, and her line is something like, "Not another step, not another step. I'm stuck. Help, help. Come back, come back." No one can hear her, so I just think it's awesome. If you know what I mean. Sorry, I don't know if I'm making sense, but
No, no, you're making a ton of sense. And what's funny is it actually works so well that in that last scene, when you do, I was going to bring that up, when you ride your bike away, that's when I went, oh my gosh, this is not like Simon because he trusts her and believes so much. That's when I had doubt because that's when I went, oh my gosh, is he the killer? And then I got like super nervous.
oh,
I
yeah.
was gonna, and
Huh.
and that was the reason. So obviously, like episode, like moving forward, I'm sure, things will probably come back, play, and he'll be helping Maddie and everything. But that walk away, and again, this is, I think, reiterating your point. A normal show, I think that walk away, you'd be like, yeah, like he's done. He's done all the stuff. Like he's helped her. Maybe he is crazy. That never crossed my mind. My mind was more like, oh no, he's leaving. He's not helping her anymore, and he's upset. Does that mean he did it? Like it was more like that.
That
You know what I mean?
wow.
So,
Wow.
like, so it's definitely working exactly how you're saying it. I didn't even think that he wasn't seeing her. I didn't even question that she wasn't real. And I didn't even question that he didn't think she was real. It was more of just it was the first time you really see Simon leave, like kind
Mhm.
of leave her. And so it was more of me going, oh my gosh, if he's leaving her, does that mean? And then I was like, but he can't, right? And then so when it ended, I was like, oh no.
But it
But
can't, right? I know, right? I
But
know.
I think that reiterates your point, which is very odd. It's not, and I do give like a lot of kudos to the writers because it's not a normal formula. Usually you are kind of going, get out, go, or like, or do whatever you got to do. But we want Simon with her. We want you guys together and we want him to help. So that's why I had like a seed of doubt. But I think when you watch this show, you have doubt on a little bit of everybody, right? Because we're all trying
Yes.
to figure out who it is. But that literally like broke my heart when he rode away because I was like, is it him? And then literally I was like, can't be him, right? It's not him. No. And then like it ended. It's just like, stop, and like wait till the next episode and like don't stress because I'm sure they'll work it out. But yeah, it was like my initial reaction was all because he left and it had nothing to do with him being crazy or him not seeing her or her not being real. So like it's all coming across exactly how you're saying.
Feel like the show lives with a second run. Like you watch it a second time, and it's not that you pick up on new things. It's sort of that you see it with a new lens. Like it's definitely not her. Let me take a closer look at this person. The show could really have two lives. I think. I don't know. I feel like most streamers only have one life. Like I'll watch like a really good show, like I don't know. The Boys or something, and it's really good once, like a one good run. But School Spirits might have a second life.
Well, I want to ask you, so obviously the show has done really well. All of us are trying to figure it out. You've seen a ton of theories. What's one of the craziest theories that you've read online where you're just like, "Oh my gosh, like absolutely not." But it's like fun because people are guessing. But what's like one of like the craziest things that you were just like, "I wish this was almost it." Like I wish like it was that crazy.
Okay, I think there's like two crazy theories. I think one was that I think someone was saying like somehow Wally, our classic jock, because he doesn't want to be alone and he has no one in the afterlife, and so what he did was he was basically able to interact with the real world somehow and killed himself so that he could. And that first line where he goes, "Hey, I'm Wally Clark, class of '84," was his rehearsed line of all these years, like, "Oh, I can't wait to introduce myself to a girl I can kill and have forever." To Wally, and then
Okay.
Xavier in real life, Spencer McPherson, gave me this theory, which was that Mr. Anderson was sort of like this drug dealer, which is why he had the money, and she got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time with the cartel, and they were trying to get Anderson and like have someone hostage, and then blonde hair thought it was his daughter, so they shot Maddie in the back of the head, and the reason why she died is just because she showed up at the wrong place at like 5 in the afternoon and it was an accident. And something like that was the theory. I think that's the craziest. Have you heard some crazy ones?
I've heard some
Hmm.
crazy ones. I will say kudos to Spencer for coming up with that. That would be very
I
interesting if there's like
know.
cartel stuff and then like, shady stuff happening in the high school like basement and she just walked in and it was like, oh bam, she just shot because we need to get our money and go. That's definitely, I think that tops what I had. I've had interesting. I've had that it was like a little bit of a group effort, that there's been like multiple characters involved, not just one killer, which I read. And then I was like, and of course, then I started thinking, could that be it? Because I'm like, maybe there is, because everyone's assuming it's one person, which is what everyone's been trying to figure out. It wasn't really the craziest thing, but what they included were I saw something like Wally and Xavier, and then I was like, but how would
Oh,
that work? And I was like, and then they were like, well, they're hiding like their communication because, and they're trying to get this done. It was an interesting theory, or like that there was a crossover, like one of the spirits is able to talk to a human, that it's not just Maddie for the first time, and that the other ones have been hiding it, and like, someone that they know did it. It was like that kind of thing. So I was trying to figure out, I'm like, so how would that have worked? Like, so I guess they're communicating and they know what happened to her, and that person saw a spirit and confessed. And so it seemed like that, like there was some sort of additional crossover in addition to you and Maddie kind of thing, other than Simon and Maddie, that another spirit
I
is
like
talking
it.
to someone.
I like this. I like this a lot.
Yeah, isn't that like an interesting and I was like, okay. And I was like, but what would they be like saying? And they were just saying, well, that person one day just saw the spirit, whichever character it was, whether it was Wally, like whoever. And let's say it was Wally and Xavier, like, and then Xavier walked over and said, by the way, like I killed a person. I need to confess to somebody, but you're confessing to a spirit that nobody else could see, right? So you confess everything, and then that spirit is hiding it and not telling like what happened. So that was like kind of like a crazy like theory that I heard, and like helping
Wow.
kind of hide some of the evidence and helping kind of push everyone off the trail, and in the little group meetings not really saying things, or like, trying to like push it, away from the group kind of figuring out what's going on.
There are so
Theory.
many things you can play with this death life limbo. I like this. I was even thinking about like the
Ooh.
spatial relationship of the death life limbo. So like say the only reason that while filming this was my theory that the reason why Maddie and Simon could even talk to each other in the first place because I feel like her death had to do with like dying exactly on the border of Split River and the rest of the town, Split River High and the rest of the town. And so she died right on that border, and that's how she could communicate with the living. And the reason why it's him is because she asked Simon to kill her, and there was no time to explain. And she said, "No matter what, don't look for me, don't ask questions, I'll be back. Shoot me." I don't know why. I don't know why. But so I was like, okay, so they got a gun, and he shot her right on the border, and then left. And then episode pilot starts with him seeing her in the window and goes Maddie, and the subtext of that is you're back. So I don't know. I thought I at one point I thought, but it was like she asked Simon to kill her.
I don't know. It's like fun to like try to come up with ideas and like, various things. So at this point, right? Like the where we're going. Okay. So I will ask you, I won't ask you to give anything else away. I had to start off with just who did it. Come on. Just let us know. Cause it's like playing Clue. So we have a couple episodes left to kind of like tell it. So where is Simon at this point? Right? We saw him riding off on his bike. He's upset. Where are we gonna see him going in the next few episodes? And when you read who did it, were you like, oh my God, that makes so much sense? Or were you shocked? Like, what was your initial reaction?
I hope the studio made it clear. They cut off at 8. So the 8th season finale, but the writers told me where Simon's journey would go in season 2, which would be I just had this image of a road trip. I don't know if they said the word road trip, but he is going to go in theory searching for the face he saw on the phone, and that's going to lead him away further away from the Maddie stuck at Split River. And so at some point they would have to find each other. She also would need to find out a way to go ahead and escape Mr. Martin. But Janet is a hell of a character, and we don't know what kind of monster and villain that person is, but I think that Simon would have a few interactions with Janet is I think what I've been told. We'll see.
So for season 2, it hasn't been officially renewed yet, right? Like we're still waiting on the official.
Still waiting.
Okay. Yeah. So we're still waiting for season 2. But yeah, so moving forward, that's where you thinking Simon's heading. And then kind of what happened, which hopefully we'll find out at some point, like in season 2. But what do you think, like really quickly, of the Janet situation? Because for me, my mouth dropped. Like when that scene, when you see her kind of jump into Maddie, and now I'm like super confused. So I'm like, she jumped into Maddie and now Maddie exists. And then she's buying like a bus ticket. And then I was like, wait, huh? And then I was worried that Simon's gonna think that it's really her. And like I'm all concerned. Cause I'm like, he's gonna meet her. What if they come across each other and then he thinks it's really her and now she's alive? But I feel
Mhm.
like he would know, because like, we all talk a certain way. We have cadence, we all have a certain way of being. So I feel like he'll know that it's not her. But
Mm.
what? How did that happen? So what's going on? And now there's two. So she's dead, and now her physical body's alive. How did that happen?
Right. Audiences need to make some math calculations with counting the spirits and bodies. as if where is Janet's spirit, where is her body, where is Maddie's spirit, where is Maddie's body, kind of like a fraction. They might have to like do some of that. Yeah, in terms of Janet, it's hard. I think that's a really good character because we don't know her backstory too much, except that she was involved with the fire and Mr. Martin. And I don't think she's that bad of a person because if I was trapped for so freaking long, at one point I'd want to get out, right? And I might use violence in order to do it. Oh god. What a terrible thing to admit. Well, I don't know, like, in order to get out, kill a squirrel? Like, bye-bye, squirrel. I think that her desperation has maybe led to some sort of I wouldn't call it insanity, but just, like, let's just call it extreme desperation that I don't think she's that bad of a person. I don't know what her relationship with Mr. Martin is, if Mr. Martin was just sort of, like, keeping her his lab rat. I mean, that's mental torture for Janet. So I hope that Janet doesn't immediately. I hope someone sees the humanity in Janet because if she's just a person who killed Maddie, then I wouldn't be too interested. But I think it's really interesting because she's not. So it's like good person versus good person, or more like morally okay person versus morally okay. Maddie versus Janet.
Well, it's interesting too because when we see that, I was wondering if maybe she jumped into her body somehow because as a spirit, maybe you have that ability to like, so maybe she jumped into her, like, so even though we see it on the screen where she jumps into her, it looks like a spirit jumping into a spirit on the screen, but maybe it kind of transported into her actual body. I don't know. I was trying to figure out all sorts of things, but I think that, with everybody and Mr. Martin in particular, I feel like he's figured a lot of stuff out that we don't know. Obviously, if Janet was part of that fire and he feels responsible, I feel like Janet knows a lot of what Mr. Martin knows. And I think that there's things that he has figured out. So my theory was that he had helped her in some way. And who wouldn't want to leave? Like when you've been stuck there for so long. So I don't blame her at all, but it was just so crazy and like mind-boggling and shocking to see her kind of jump in. But then also, as a journalist, like looking at it from an actor's perspective, for Peyton to be able to play that must be
Yeah,
so fun because it's like two like totally different kind of scenarios. And also she gets to leave the school.
I
Like
know.
all of you guys get to leave the school and like Maddie's in the school like all season. So now she like gets to like finally leave and like play like a character that's kind of like moving around. So I just find it so fascinating. But I think there's a lot about Mr. Mark like that we need to find out.
That is what I totally skipped out on when you and I were talking earlier, is that the season 2 would be a whole different show because it would explore the science side of everything. It would go into more of the chemistry of Mr. Martin, what he's been doing, what it means exactly to be a spirit, and the relationship they have with the world. So it's one of those shows where season 2, it's like, yeah, I think it'll pick up right after season 1, but it's a different story. It's almost like you're watching a new show, and I love that because we already get high school dance scene. We already get football game. Let's go ahead and let's go darker this time. It's a different show.
When do you think that we'll find out? Do you have any idea when we'll find it? Because fans are like driving me crazy about season 2. So any idea when we might find out about it? I don't know if you know anything.
The first is that the writer strike makes things so unpredictable, and LA especially, you could hear them honking in front of Universal Studios. All the cars were at like this halt, and no one can do anything, and it's kind of like this standoff. And I think that delays things so much. At least from what I've heard, going to the screenings and the premieres, that Paramount likes the show, fans like the show, actors love working on the show, and the writers already know what season 2, season 3, is going to be about. I talked to my agent about when we would ever hear for a season 2, and he did say that it's taking longer. Like we should know by now. So I think real soon.
It's life, right? It's happening. The writer strike is happening right now. It is delaying a lot of stuff. But yes, in terms of moving forward, it's hard to make announcements or decisions, right? When you don't kind of really know where things are at. But I have a good feeling you'll get renewed. So I don't think that will be like an issue for a season 2. And then my last question is just what would you like to say to the fans? Because I always like to ask this question because fans are obsessed with the show. They love your character.
I would say that I love them, and that sometimes if someone texts me like a screenshot of them doing a fan edit of me on TikTok, I go, I don't know how they think I'm cute. Like they caption it with these weird things. I'm like not that guy. So for them, I love you. You guys are a little delusional with my looks, but I think that I love how they heighten all the relationships in the show to really see what things are about. Like, they love Rhonda, and they see how screwed up her life is, and they make these edits and they post these things, and they put a lot of emphasis on the characters. So I think that the fan base is really understanding, and the show asks great questions about trauma and what self-confrontation means to move on from, the afterlife. So I love that the fans are really thinkers, and yeah, thank you for paying attention to the most important parts of the show. That is like really a reward to any artist, is having people receive what is so important and they really pay attention. So thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Hope you guys enjoyed listening to Kristian Flores kind of explain and go over some fun theories, crazy ideas he's heard, and all sorts of fun stuff. Obviously, we're keeping our fingers crossed for season 2. It sounds promising. So if you haven't seen season 1, head over to Paramount Plus. All of the episodes are available now to stream. It's such a great show. It's so much fun. It's definitely a little bit of an addiction. So go and check it out if you haven't watched it already. And make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you're updated on all of our latest podcasts. And head over to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of our video content. You'll be the first ones to get notifications if our videos go live. So head over there, subscribe so you're updated, and stay tuned for more interviews to come.